Okay, can you give us your name and your role in the opera?
Clara Taylor, Nella.
No, okay, right.
Oh, I didn't know
Check form question. Very precise answers. Okay, so let's start with a broad question, Clara, because and
Okay.
this will be interesting from you. Um, how has COVID impacted your music making?
In general?
Yes, and you can get as specific as you like.
Okay. Well, I actually had COVID. So, um, it has impacted me in
As I scoot my chair back.
She's fine now.
Yeah,
She's
I'm
already on
immune.
now.
I can give you my antibodies.
Yeah, I'll take them. You can get them in a vaccine or a pill.
It impacted me in that way, in that, like as far as being involved, I missed, I tested positive the day before we started filming the opera. So I, of course, missed all of that and had to do it virtually. And just as far as recovering after, it's been really difficult, like getting my energy back and getting like my breath support back. In choir and in voice lessons, it's been a challenge, really. Yeah, and I'm really just now like starting to feel myself again. But prior to having COVID, it impacted it in that, just how like everyone else kind of like just the masks and everything and ensembles, but I was just grateful to have been able to still make music during this time, because there's a lot of people who, don't have that opportunity. And that was one of the first things when we came back on campus, like just being a part of a choir and singing as a choir again was so like heartwarming and inspiring. So
That's good. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear about how you had to, how it's affected your practice and such that you've gotten back. Is there anything like, how have you adjusted your singing? You talked about breath support and such. What have you done to deal with that?
I've done a lot more like breath warm ups to prepare before I sing and stuff. And at first, like, it was really difficult because I'm singing some pieces that are very challenging this semester. And so it has been a challenge, but yeah, I just start with like more breath warm ups and stuff, and like slowly have worked up to being able to sing the music like the way I'm supposed to, because at first like I couldn't do that because of the long phrases and stuff. I just didn't have it. So I've just had to slowly work my way up to it.
That'll all come in handy when you get older, trust me. You'll write all these exercises down because you'll do them again. So, and it's interesting, you talk about how your role pulled back. I think actually when you see the video, you'll see that in some ways your role actually became more prominent because of the way we featured you on the Moplex. It's interesting. You were able to really see your involvement with other characters more clearly, more distinctly, because of the way you interacted with them. I think you're going to be very happy with how you visually are portrayed what we did. We did this as a recording this year, and you've done live performances of the opera before. How do you think your experience has been different? Would it have been different this year had we done a live performance, and in what way?
Oh yeah, it would have been, to me, it would have been so, I mean, this was challenging just trying to schedule everything out. But if we would have done a live performance, I feel like we would have had to put, so much more work into it. Like as far as rehearsal wise and having everybody like just getting everything together. We would have been able to. It would have just taken a lot of rehearsal time and stuff, which we didn't have because we couldn't rehearse in, you know, those time segments. But yeah.
What was your favorite moment in the production this year?
I don't know if I have a specific moment, but I guess just whenever all the music started to come together and, you know, we could really hear what everything sounded like together, and you were like, wow, like, we sound really good. Like, this is cool.
I remember that moment when we first heard the music all come together. It was really exciting.
Yeah, and everyone's so talented. It's, I just like to hear everybody.
Yeah, good group to have together. What was your least favorite moment in this production?
Probably having to wear heels every night and be prepared for, like, recording, even though we didn't know, you know, and we had to, because we were filming, like, the same thing every night. So, yeah. Like, getting ready and everything for that, you know, every day.
Yeah, because we had to actually be in costume many more days than we normally would have.
Yeah.
Was there anything that we didn't get to do in this production that you really wish we could have done?
I don't think so. I think in my mind everything kind of went according to plan as far as the recording and everything. I mean, besides the fact that, you know, I had to be in it virtually, but I don't think there's anything that I would have done differently.
How did your perception of your role and the actual realization of your role, did they differ in any way?
Well, Nella is like this, my perception of her is this snotty, stuck-up, rich woman, greedy, and her husband, and, you know, and so, yeah, I mean, and I guess the realization of the role didn't really differ from that, because that's who she is.
That's really who she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because really the whole development of her character doesn't develop anymore beyond that. She's
Yeah.
just, with a child who makes a lot of noise.
Right, and very materialistic, yeah.
If we could go back 8 months to before the pandemic began, is there anything you'd tell yourself?
Be patient. That's really hard for me. Be patient. And learn to, you know, go with the flow and accept things. You know, not everything has to be perfect all the time. And give myself grace. So.
Yes. Yeah, I think we've all had to learn to do that to ourselves and to those around us.
Yeah.
I think we're more conscious of that than we used to be. Is there anything you'd like to add to this interview?
I think we're all really fortunate to have been able to work with you both as directors.
Thank you.
There's no way, because I just couldn't imagine doing this with anyone else, like, in this circumstance, because it takes all sides to make this come together. So.
Well, there's a lot of times where we talk each other off ledges because like
yeah,
when
yeah.
he was directing the staging stuff, it's like I'm trying to run interference and deal with phone calls, try to come up with solutions, do this or that, and also stay out of the way. And then, but also like hear his frustrations, listen to that, kind of help him troubleshoot things. But he was doing the exact same thing for me every time I was like, oh my gosh, we can only rehearse for 30 minutes. What are we going to do? And then he would say, what if we do this? And I'd say, oh yeah, we could do that. And then maybe we do this. And it's just
A lot of brainstorming.
yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I really like about being at Ouachita is that no faculty member is on an island trying to do things on their own.
Yeah.
And I really value that.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you talked about things went according to plan. What plan?
We were making a plan as we went, man.
It seemed like y'all had everything together. It really did.
Oh,
So
I'm going good.
The facade! The facade!
y'all did good.
Well,
It was just, we just decided we didn't let the crack show. We're like, we could scream it. We'd go scream and holler in the other room. Then we'd come back in and go, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
and sometimes when we screamed and hollered in the other room, we were on mute, and sometimes we weren't.
Oh yeah.
Every now and then we weren't on mute.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. Yeah, this is great to do this. Great. Especially those of you who you've done successive years now. It's wonderful to get to different productions together and see how we grow and change with the differences with each production, and growing as artists and growing as just a team who put shows together is that's one of the nice things about doing these things repeatedly.
Well, and like as a music director, getting to work with you in two different productions,
Yeah.
and to kind of see your vocal growth.
Yeah.
Like, because this piece pushed you vocally in a very different way
Yeah,
than
for
the
sure.
shows pushed you, but yet you really grew into the roles in both shows vocally, musically, and I've always been a fan of your sound, your voice,
Thank you.
and I'm just really, it was lovely to see you kind of go from being like, I'm not sure what happens here, to like very confident vocally in what you were doing, and your contribution was huge. Like in the trio section, oh, that was so stunning every time. I mean, and I don't know how many times we recorded it, but like I could listen to that trio all day long.
My favorite part of the show.
That was probably my favorite part. Yeah.
So like I'm just super proud of, and you persevered through.
Oh yeah.
Isolation and all the things that you're doing, and it's just fantastic.
Well, I hated that you had to go into isolation with that, but having you on the Moplex, actually, for staging standpoint, made the show better, I think. It made it really, it was another layer of interest that we got to put in. And you'll see that when you see the film. That there's this whole, especially at the end of the show, when the family goes crazy and steals everything.
Yeah.
You get stolen.
Yeah.
Well, great. So thank you. This has been really helpful.